Hello, in this video I want to get you started with Audacity. Audacity lets you record and edit audio. It is free and open source, which is like a guarantee that it will stay free forever. Audacity works on Windows, Mac and Linux. I added chapters to this video, so feel free to bookmark it with a Ctrl-D or Command-D shortcut and come back to it whenever you need a refresher. I will create a radio or podcast ad for Cubotup's paper products and lead you step by step through Audacity. First of all, you can download Audacity from audacity-team.org. The big download button automatically picks the right version after a short delay. On Chrome, the download appears in the bottom left, while on Firefox, Edge and Safari, it's behind a button in the top right area. Clicking the file installs it after the download finishes. Just click through the installer until the installation is complete. Once downloaded and installed, start Audacity. It will inform you about data collection for its app update feature, and if you like, you can get rid of the new version screen at startup. Audacity opens into an empty new project that looks like this. There are many interface elements and we will look at them throughout this tutorial. It's best to make sure that the sampling rate in the lower left corner matches your microphone. Most likely that is 44.1 kHz or 48 kHz. In your sound settings, just go to Sound Control Panel and to Recording, where you can go to the properties of your microphone. In Advanced, you can see or even set things like rate, sometimes bit depth, sometimes channels. In my case, I have a 2-channel 16-bit 48 kHz microphone. In general, starting with 44.1 or 48 kHz is good. Everything else would be for special cases. In the top left, the audio host is fixed on Linux and macOS, but on Windows there are multiple options. MME, Windows DirectSound and Windows WASAPI. To my knowledge, both MME and DirectSound are deprecated and run emulated through WASAPI, which is why I recommend WASAPI. MME and DirectSound can be used though as well, if it makes it easier for you. For example, while WASAPI is selected, my system presents 8 recording devices. This happens because it pretends that sound output devices are microphones, in case you want to record them. My PC has 3 screens connected, which makes this list a bit long, since they all have speaker or audio output. With MME or DirectSound, this list can be much shorter. I will pick WASAPI and choose my microphone. Except for ASMR, voices are usually recorded in mono, so I will set the recording channels to 1, mono. In Playback device, the default is probably what you want. If you want to switch between hearing the audio on, for example, built-in speakers and headphones, you can do that here. Once I click on the recording level bar, it starts monitoring the volume level, and a blue line indicates the highest reached volume, over here, for example. With the recording volume slider, I can ensure that the volume is not too low and not too high. Too low would be if the blue line was less than 12 dB. Too high would be if I hit 0, which causes clipping. Note that the microphone level slider actually controls the device setting volume with WASAPI and MME. Of course, I can also control this by moving closer or further away from the microphone and with the controls the microphone has built in. Before I explain more of the buttons, let's record one test sentence. For this, I will press the red record button and start speaking immediately. Paper makes the world go round. I stopped recording using the spacebar, but the stop button can also be used. By pressing the green play button, or again spacebar, I can listen to the recording. Paper makes the world go round. Welcome to the top 1 beginner mistake of audio recording, starting to speak immediately after the recording starts. Instead, wait at least a second or 2 if you start counting at 1. I could delete the whole track with a click of a cross in the top left corner. I can also undo my actions with these undo and redo buttons or Ctrl-Z and Ctrl-Y keyboard shortcuts. I will record again, this time with a little pause first. Makes the world go round. Paper? That little mistake is actually a good opportunity to show you the next set of tools. You probably already noticed the bumps and waves created by Audacity while recording. This line is the sound wave of my voice. And just like text in a word processor, I can click and drag the left mouse button to select parts of that line. That is, as long as the selection tool is enabled. Shortcut F1 key. The play button or spacebar will play back the selection. Paper? I can also drag around the sides of a selection when hovering them. Now the word paper clearly belongs to the beginning of a sentence, so I will first cut it. I could also use the Ctrl-X shortcut. Second, I click in the clip to move the playhead, the black line. And then I paste it with Ctrl-V or the paste button. This inserts the word at the position of the playhead. Two more nifty buttons. This button allows trimming the selection, shortcut Ctrl-T. And this one silences my selection, shortcut Ctrl-L. You can also move around parts of the interface by clicking the grip and dragging them around. Some elements can also be changed by resizing them by their corners. This can get very messy, and you can always restore the default layout using View, Toolbars, Reset Toolbars. Now the spacebar functions both as the play and stop button, but the pause button is activated with the P key. It pauses and continues playback on use. Paper, pause, continue, makes the world go round. The skip buttons jump to the start and the end. Shortcuts are home and end. If you hold down Shift at the same time, they will select everything between the playhead and the beginning or end. The loop button makes playback loop when enabled. Paper, 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 paper. Enough of that. Now, this recording was just a test. You should always make one to ensure everything is working correctly before you start a project. I will simply delete this track and start the Cubotop's Paper Products ad read. This time with a nice pause at the start. Paper! Who wants to stare at screens all day long? That's right, nobody wants to stare at screens all day long. What's the next line? Cubotop's Paper Products, rest your eyes and calm the mind. Join our future today with, you guessed it, paper. Now there are a few mistakes here and there in this recording. First of all, there was clipping right at the beginning where I shouted, paper! Using the zoom tool, I can make it more visible. And by stretching the track down, it's easier to see how flat the sound wave gets. When zoomed in, you can move around using the bottom scroll bar, by the way. The zoom buttons also allow zooming quickly. You can zoom into the selection, but you have to have something selected, using the selection tool, of course. Or you can zoom out to the entire width of the project. And then there's a somewhat mysterious zoom toggle. Anyways, clipping can be hidden, but not fixed. The best solution is to record that part again. Paper! Doing so creates a new audio clip on the right end of this audio track. I can double-click it to select all of it. Then I'll just cut and paste it right on top of a failed recording. The second problem is that I recorded myself rambling. What's the next line? I just need to delete that, so after selecting it with the Select tool, I use the menu in Edit, Delete. Or I can hit the Delete or Backspace key on the keyboard. As you can see here, Ctrl-K would also work. The third issue is my voice being too quiet at the end because I was further away from the microphone. Join our future today with, you guessed it, paper! Using the envelope tool, I can set points and move them around in the clips. They connect to each other and form zones of lower and higher volume with fades in between. To be able to boost the volume, you need to zoom out by left-clicking on the track volume scale and picking the bottom option. Now I can boost the quiet line and try keeping the others as they are. Switching back to the selection tool hides the clutter and I can continue. When it comes to paper commercials, this one is really coming together. But what I need now is some music. To add a file into an existing project, I don't use File Open, as this opens a new Audacity window with only that file. Instead, I have to use File Import Audio. Or alternatively, I can simply drag and drop the file into Audacity. Let's listen in. Paper! Who wants to stare at screens all day long? Immediately it is clear that the music is way too loud. And way too big. Let's reduce the track heights. Actually, let's do that automatically with View, Track Size, Fit to Height. The loudness issue is easily fixed with a track gain slider. I will reduce it by 6 dB for now. Paper! Who wants to stare at screens all day long? The music track is also clearly too long, so I will shorten it by dragging the right side to the left. This only works while my cursor is in the upper area of the clip side. If the cursor is lower, it will select instead. I also want to rearrange the sentences so the timing matches the music better. While in select mode, I set the playhead and then right-click and select Split Clip in the context menu. This splits the clip into two, which I can move around independently from one another. This is a good moment to save the project. Saving the project is different from exporting an audio file, as it preserves all the tracks, track volume settings, envelope information, and clips. In File Save Project As, I can pick a file name. The warning repeats that this is a project file and not a file that can be played like a WAV or an MP3. I will call this one paper add read and confirm. Let me close Audacity and try to open the project from the saved file. All back as expected. Paper! I remembered that I wanted to add a disclaimer at the end, so I will record a new clip. The music is bound to get in the way, so I will silence it using the track mute button. Cubotopus Paper Products is not responsible for any data loss through burning, flooding, or flying away in the wind. That was pretty good, but I don't want people to actually pay attention to this, so I will speed it up. After selecting, I will try the change speed effect and set it to a 1.5 multiplier, which means a 50% speed increase.
Cubotopus Paper Products is not responsible for any data loss through burning, flooding, or flying away in the wind.
This is faster, but adds what is known as the chipmunk effect. The pitch shift is not what I was going for, so let's undo that and try something else. The change tempo effect compensates for the pitch shift, and I will use it with positive 50% tempo change and high quality stretching, as it otherwise can produce tiny glitches. Now I just need to arrange the clip in the project and done. Let me delete some here. I actually do want the music to be louder in the parts where I don't talk, so I will unmute it again and raise the track gain to -3 dB. However, while I speak, I want the music to be quieter. While I could use the envelope tool to set the regions that should be louder and quieter, I would like this to happen automatically. This can be done using the auto duck effect. Now if I click on the music track and try to start auto duck, it gives me a no audio selected warning. Audacity can be clunky at times. In this case, it wants me to select the music first, so I will simply click the title of the clip to select it. If I try the effect again, I get an error message informing me that the track to be ducked needs to be on top of the track that tells it when to duck. So I will click the track menu and select Move Track Up. This time the effect interface shows up. Here you can configure parameters like the amount of ducking and the duration of the fades. Auto duck basically listens to the so-called control track under the selected track. Whenever it hears anything that is at least this loud, it tells the selected track to be quiet during these parts. After all, the control track is speaking. I will go with the defaults and confirm. If I undo and redo, you can clearly see the change in volume and that it happened right where I wanted it. Paper! Who wants to stare at screens all day long? And you can hear it too. Currently, the music ends abruptly, flying away in the wind, which is not ideal. To make it end softer, I will fade it out. To do this, I will select the end part to fade, and then go to Effects, Fade Out. Any data loss through burning, flooding, or flying away in the wind. Simple and effective. This sounds much nicer. Now, you might not have noticed, but my computer is actually quite noisy. I will solo the voice track, make it a little bigger, and record some silence. And use the normalize effect so you can hear it. Oof, I better undo this. To clear up my voice a little, I will use the noise reduction effect. First, I have to select a piece of noise, and only noise, to train the effect what frequencies constitute noise by pressing Effect Noise Reduction, and then Get Noise Profile. Next, I select the whole track by double-clicking on it outside of Eclipse, and start the effect again. This time I will just use the defaults, which provide a medium level of noise reduction. I simply press OK. Let me fit project width, which I actually do all the time with Ctrl F. It cleans the voice in a subtle way, but it strangely created silent clips in all the empty spaces. To keep more control, you can select the clips individually and repeat the effect from the menu or using the Ctrl R shortcut. In this clip, the noise reduction effect actually lowered the volume. It changed from "Join our future today" to "Join our future today," which I think took care of some of the echo, but is also quieter. This is most likely because I was further away from the microphone, so the PC noise did have more of an influence on the overall recording, and thus it is more filtered out. Let me show another effect to fix this. In Effect, Amplify, we'll set this to, let's say, 3 dB. "Join our future today." Cue Butup's paper products. Yes, this seems to match the other clips nicely, but maybe not enough. To make my voice have the same loudness throughout, I will also compress it. I'll just delete this noise clip and select all clips on my voice track and open Effect, Compressor. Simply put, this effect reduces the dynamic range by compressing the fine differences between different levels, which allows for a more consistent volume. So any waves in these areas will be smushed together, the top ones down and the bottom ones up. I will go with the default parameters. Apparently this caused a bug which moved all the sound waves to the right, which is why it's really important to save your project. Let's do that in Save Project, Save Project. Sometimes you can fix these bugs by just restarting the project. No, still no. I think this might have to do with this clip being kind of outside. So let me just move it out here, shorten it, and put it back to the start. Maybe now it will work? Okay, there we go. What a relief. Let's now listen to the final commercial with the music on, so let me turn off the solo and play it all back. Paper. Who wants to stare at screens all day long? That's right, nobody wants to stare at screens all day long. Cue Butup's paper products, rest your eyes and calm the mind. Join our future today with, you guessed it, paper. Cue Butup's paper products is not responsible for any data loss through burning, flooding, or flying away in the wind. That sounds just the way I want it, with except maybe a little fix I can do here by just deleting that. Besides saving the project in File, Save Project, or the Ctrl-S shortcut, the last step is to export a WAV or MP3 file. Generally, MP3 files are small and a tiny bit lower in quality, while WAV files are huge and have slightly higher audio quality. I will export both respectively in the File Export menu. MP3 with extreme quality, as Audacity calls it. A warning explains that the audio will be mixed down, and the metadata window allows to add author name and title, which would show up in the audio player. I will keep this empty, the file name is enough for me. The WAV file I will export at standard 16-bit quality. You can clearly see the difference in the file sizes. The MP3 is 0.8 megabytes, the WAV is 4.5, nearly 6 times as large. In this project I would send the WAV to wherever it needs to go, so the ad can appear on the radio and be automatically inserted into podcast ad segments. Before we wrap up, I want to share 2 personal recommendations. First, if you don't like the retro look, check out the color themes in Edit, Preferences, Interface. A nice looking dark theme, a not so nice looking high contrast theme, classic look with silly icons, and the default. Custom themes are also supported, which I explain in another video. Second, once you know which effects and features you use a lot, add new shortcuts in Edit, Preferences, Keyboard. For example, I use fade in and out a lot, so I will assign them to comma and full stop, confirming that I want to overwrite whatever they were assigned to before. I also split clips a lot and don't like the Control-I shortcut, so I will set it to R. I don't need the record shortcut anyway. Finally, I love using the normalize effect, so I will assign it to N. No complaints here. Now I can work much faster by using the keyboard for things that take quite some time to do with the mouse. It is, however, only natural that it takes you a while to figure out what the functions are that you really need or want shortcuts for. Well, I hope that this guide was useful to you and that you have fun producing your audio projects in Audacity. Please write a comment below if you have any feedback or any questions, or want to share a story of yours about audio editing. If you think that you could use a refresher in the future, you can bookmark this video with a Ctrl-D shortcut or Command-D on Mac. Till next time, ciao!